Hey folks, it's Dr. Joe, and this is the December 2024 monthly update. And this presentation is entitled How to Think Through Choosing Generative AI Technology for Your Workplace. We're seeing a lot of people, a lot of business owners or people in companies that are asking, how do we do Gen AI for business? And how do we do it, safely, securely? How do we figure out how to do it in a helpful manner? So I thought this would make for a good update, and I end with a kind of funny story, so stick with me till the end. But big idea for this presentation is, and I'll read it, figuring out a Gen AI solution that secures your data, protects privacy, stays cost effective, and lets you get insights from your company's data is not easy, but it's essential. Waiting too long puts both your organization and employees at risk for falling behind in adopting AI effectively. I think in a previous update, I talked about how, I ran a children's marathon with my daughter and realized I just wasn't ready for it, even though it was only a mile long. And I won't go back into that. But this is definitely the time. We just came off of 12 days of OpenAI releases. It's kind of a marketing event for them. There were some cool things announced, but we're definitely getting to the point where if your company is not thinking about how it's going to use Gen AI or being strategic about it or figuring out a plan, then it is getting kind of late. And so I throw this presentation out there to just say, hey, I think you all need to start thinking about this. And I want to talk about what it means or what considerations should you take into, into your mind as you move forward with Gen AI for your workplace. So I wanted to show this graph. This graph is from a paper from Anthropic that was just recently released. You can see the reference on the bottom here. But this is not survey data. This is real data from how people are using Anthropic Claude, which is like ChatGPT, but from a company called Anthropic. It's a Gen AI solution, and people are using it for work. And so the top usage, with regards to over 10% of usage, of real usage, is web and mobile application development assistance. What is this? Remember, I've been saying in previous seminars and previous updates that people are using generative AI to code, to do software engineering. And this is a really, really big usage of it. It's totally transforming business because software engineering affects a lot, if not most businesses at this point. So this is real. It's happening right now. But look at some of these other things on this list. So just under 10% of usage is for content creation and communication assistance across disciplines, marketing, advertising, communications professionals. They're leveraging this technology. And if your company does any of that, or if your company focuses on that and is not thinking about Gen AI, then you need to be thinking about Gen AI. I'll just look at some other ones down kind of midway, under 6% here. Business strategy and operations assistance across industries. I think I mentioned this in an article recently where, even for myself, I'm not a trained business person. I'm a trained, or I have a PhD in these technologies. And so as I started Blue Fox Labs, I didn't have a business degree. So I've been using Gen AI to help me figure out business things. And it's been tremendously helpful. It helps me with business strategy. And so even for your business, if you're not using this technology to think about business strategy, I mean, there's others that are doing that. And you have to really think about competitive advantage or just staying up to date with what everybody else is doing. And then towards the bottom here, you've got digital marketing and SEO optimization, but also data analysis, visualization, and management assistance. So analyzing data. This is part of what Gen AI is being used for. And so, again, your business or your workplace needs to be thinking about it. But how do you do it? How can you implement this in your workplace? Because there's probably a lot of confusing signals out there. And maybe if you're working as a leader in your workplace, you haven't figured out what your standards are or what your rules are for your company. So let's talk about that. The easy button software as service solutions that are out there right now, they are solutions like ChatGPT Enterprise. Most people at this point know ChatGPT or have heard of it. Well, there's an enterprise version for businesses that has a certain cost, a certain minimum number of licenses, but it's kind of easy button. You just buy this and your company can use it, right? Is it the best solution? Well, we'll talk about that. There's also Anthropic Claude for enterprise. This is just another company, Anthropic, their software as a service solution for Gen AI, and you can buy it from them as well. Easy button. You can also go to Google and buy Google Gemini Enterprise. But I'm going to throw this out there. Many of you probably already have bought Microsoft Copilot. I'm sorry, I'm not anti-Microsoft, but many of you have probably used Copilot and realize it is not great. And I hope it gets better. But, December 2024 up to this point, I test all these things out, and Copilot is just, for me, unusable. It's just not great. So I would not recommend Microsoft Copilot at this point. No offense to anybody. I know there's a lot of people that have this implemented, but for those that have actually tried to use it for work, it is pretty rough. So ChatGPT Enterprise, Claude for Enterprise, Gemini Enterprise, these solutions are easy button, not bad. Copilot needs to get better. But I don't know if many of you thought about a bit more difficult, but not completely difficult. It's just a bit more, involved, is setting up a self-hosted generative AI platform solution for your company. And there's many reasons why you might want to consider this over the easy button solutions. And I want to talk about that today during this update. But basically, the concept of this is that you, instead of just buying licenses for something like ChatGPT Enterprise, you work with your tech people, or I'll mention at the end, you can work with us to figure out how to put this together. And this might be a better overall solution for you, or at least something that you should be considering and understand, what are the pros and cons of doing it. So let's jump into it. I've got 4 points with regards to considerations for you when you're thinking about implementing Gen AI for your company, for your workplace. You might be somebody that needs to make these recommendations to your leadership in your company, or you might be leadership in your company that is thinking, maybe you're a CTO and you're thinking about, how do we do this for our company? Well, I think you need to think about at least 4 things. 1 is privacy. 2, data privacy. 2 is data security. 3, cost effectiveness. And 4, using company-specific data with Gen AI. Because really, at the end of the day, if you can't use company-specific data, then I don't know how helpful this technology is. So let's start first with privacy, protecting Gen AI, because these 4 things I think are incredibly important for how your company thinks about Gen AI. Okay, so on the left side, and each slide is going to look like this just so that there's continuity and you don't have to, think through each slide as to what it means. On the left-hand side, you have somebody, this is a Gen AI generated image, somebody typing into a computer, and they're basically using Gen AI. They're putting prompts, okay? And also, as you can see in these arrows here on the left, the blue arrows, on the top of the top blue arrow and the bottom of the bottom blue arrow, you see the phrase, your prompts and company files. So essentially, this person is using either solution, either a software as a service. So we'll just use OpenAI ChatGPT Enterprise throughout these examples. So that's the easy button solution, and that this person is putting prompts and your company files into OpenAI ChatGPT Enterprise. And then on the bottom side, this person is putting your prompts and company files into a self-hosted Gen AI platform. All right. So what are the kind of considerations with regards to privacy if you're using either type of solution? So let's start first with easy button, OpenAI ChatGPT Enterprise. Your prompts and all the attached files, so the Excel spreadsheets you might be putting in there, or the documents, or the legal documents, or your HR documents from your company, all those prompts and attached files get sent into OpenAI's computing environment. Now, we don't know where that environment is. It's clearly, somewhere in the cloud, but the cloud are data centers somewhere that exist globally, likely in the US. And I'm not trying to say anything about how OpenAI stores their data or where they store it. I'm just saying that we don't fully know where that is, right? So what we do know is that the prompts and your data are going to OpenAI and they're being stored in their computing environment. So you have to think about that. Well, okay, so they're getting all of the data from our company when people are using OpenAI ChatGPT Enterprise. Thus, the only thing that protects your data from being taken or used to train their models or used in any other way is OpenAI's legal language commitments, since it's already in their computing environment. You've already sent it there. So the only thing that prevents them from doing, anything that could be not what you want them to do with it is legal language. Now, I, again, am not anti-OpenAI. This is true for Anthropic. This is true for Google. I'm not anti any of those companies. In fact, I have great respect for those companies. But what I'm suggesting is that there's risk here. Now, we've worked with companies, I've worked with companies where the legal departments have looked at these contracts and said, you know what, it's not like it's egregiously bad, but they just don't feel comfortable with the language in these contracts. OpenAI, Google, Anthropic, they're not going to change their language, just for your company. And so they've decided this is kind of the non-starter. Once they get to this first step of privacy protecting data, they say, we can't do it. We can't use the easy button solution. All right, so then if you can't use the easy button solution, then do you not use GenAI? That's very unwise for your company. So the only other option you have, at least right now, is a self-hosted GenAI platform. And for a self-hosted GenAI platform, your prompts and all your attached files go into your environment, right? And your environment could be in the cloud. It could be Azure. It could be AWS. It could be GCP, which is Google Computing Platform, I guess. Maybe C stands for something else, or Google Cloud Platform, I think it is. So GCP. Or you have an on-premise data center computing environment, okay? What's nice about this is, again, you control your either cloud environment or your on-prem computing environment. And if you are in the cloud, if you have Azure, AWS, or GCP, your legal department has already looked over those contracts and looked over, how those, how that language protects your data that's in those environments. So you're already covered there. You don't have to do an additional legal review. Well, I'm not a lawyer, so I don't know if you have to do an additional legal review. But again, if you're already in those environments, you've already made a decision to have data in those environments. And the language usually states that, the companies don't have access to that environment data. You only have access to that data. And so this is nicer with regards to self-hosted GenAI platforms. So additionally, that means that you protect your data even when you send your data files to a hosted LLM. A large language model, okay? Now, this goes into the nuances that, if you contact us, if you're interested in us helping you do this, there's some nuances to this, but basically you may think, okay, well, when you send data into a prompt with company files, and then you hit it against a large language model, and these are called APIs, then your data is going outside of your computing environment anyways. Well, that's not necessarily true. The big message I want to say is that if you self-host your GenAI platform, you can actually keep all of your company data within your environment that you control and that you have, privacy protecting rules and code, surrounding. And so I just want to state that, at the end of the day, from a technical standpoint, it's going to be way more privacy protecting to have your data within your own environments. And so the self-hosted GenAI platform is a really compelling consideration for thinking about privacy, data privacy. All right, let's go to security, data security. So it's not just about protecting how maybe OpenAI may be able to see or do anything with your data. Also thinking about data security, people coming in and hacking your environment or whatnot. Well, in OpenAI, ChatGPT Enterprise, or any of them, okay, Google or Anthropic, same thing. Your prompts and your company files are going into their compute environment, okay, computing environment. So you have no control over how they secure your data because it's managed by them. Now, we've seen major companies, what was the most recent one? I forget maybe, I don't want to say a name incorrect. It was a CrowdStrike, maybe. Well, Cloudflare, I forget which one it was, but there was a major breach that took down global systems, and I think that was a security company. Again, I don't have my facts straight, but it's not like these people are totally negligent or these companies are negligent. It's just that it's hard to secure systems. And so another potential risk here by using these easy button solutions is that you don't control the data security at all. You don't control the security of their systems at all. But in your own self-hosted GenAI platform, again, all your prompts and all your files go into your computing environment, and you have full control over securing your data. So yet another compelling reason why secure GenAI, self-hosted GenAI platforms could end up being more secure for you. So what about cost effectiveness? Okay. Now, instead of your prompts and your files going to the solution, I have it, your money is flowing out of your company, and I have it in red because red means money is leaving, right? So what about the easy button solution? Most enterprise GenAI solutions are around $40 to $60 a month per person. I'm seeing a lot of $60 a month per person, but this is usually customized per the size of your company, and you've got to talk to the salespeople. So they're not going to publish exact pricing. It's going to change per company. But let's just say that it's on average $50 a month, between 40 and 60, okay? So for 100 people at $50 a month, you're going to spend $60,000 annually for an easy button solution. Now, I just want to mention this. Pricing on this will only go up because, as you're seeing from even OpenAI's most recent announcements, they've got a pro version that's going to cost, I think, $200 a month. Then they've got these futuristic models that are potentially going to come out, like O3, that could be $1,000+ a month. They have to recoup their costs because tech companies have made such huge capital expenditure investments into building these models and these systems that they're going to have to raise the price of these subscriptions. So this $40 to $60 a month, it's not going to go down. It's only going to go up. And so you have to think about that with regards to cost effectiveness. Additionally, most computing services, they exhibit what's called a power law usage pattern. What does that mean? It just basically means, and you see the verbiage here, but it means that with most compute services, if you have 100 people, 90% of those people, or 80 to 85, 90% of those people are using very little of those services. And then you have like 5 to 10% of the people that are using a huge amount, right? So in this pricing model, if you're paying $50 per person, but 90% of your people are barely using the service, then you're wasting a ton of money. And the people that are using a ton of the service, a lot of these subscription models, they have a certain limit upon which you can hit the services. So they'll actually rate limit, or they'll limit somebody if they're hitting it too much. So then you're not getting the benefit of the upside, which would be that these people that are power users, they could use an unlimited amount. You don't get that with these subscriptions. But then you also get the negative side of you're paying for people that are not really using this service. And so if you think about it, it's not great, right? Whereas self-hosted, you pay for two things, which is you pay for the computing platform that is hosting your GenAI platform. Three things. Let's say that's your Azure environment, your AWS environment to host it, your actual virtual computer that hosts this, okay? And that's usually not that expensive, like very little. Then you got to pay for the support and maintenance costs for that, but again, that's usually not that much because these environments are not that complicated. Even though it sounds complicated to set up a self-hosted GenAI platform, it's not that complicated. Now, again, you might not be able to do it yourself, but there's people like us that can help you. But the consumption costs of the LLM, the large language model, that is really nice with regards to pricing because you only pay for how much you hit those large language models. So if the power law is true, the 90% of people in your company that are not really hitting it, then you're not getting charged. You're only getting charged for when they hit. And then for the people that are hitting it a ton, you can set quotas so that they also get limited, but you're only paying for how much they hit. So it's another benefit of the self-hosted GenAI platform. And it has been shown, there's data out there, you can search for it on the net, that for mid-sized to large organizations, the overall cost benefit of using a self-hosted GenAI platform where you're only hitting large language models as you need it could range from 1/10 to 1/60th of the cost of the fully hosted, the easy button enterprise GenAI software as a service solutions. Okay, so the cost angle is really compelling, especially if you're a huge company, not even huge. Even if you're 50 to 100 people, to be honest, the self-hosted GenAI platform, even 20 people, I mean, depending on how you're using it, it may be a real consideration to do the self-hosted when it comes to cost. And then additionally, large language model pricing, where you're hitting, you're paying for how much you hit that large language model pricing. It's not like the easy button, where easy button is going to keep going up. This self-hosted hitting the large language models is going to likely continue to go down. Why is that? Because there's actually open source large language models out there that you can host yourself for free, and then you don't have to pay any more additional money to hit those large language models. And so there's this kind of, competition going on with regards to, Azure or AWS or Google or Anthropic offering an ability for you to hit their large language models for a very tiny price, right? They're competing against the fact that you could also then just take an open source large language model and not pay anything after you've hosted it to hit that. So they've got to compete in pricing. So the pricing for those large language models and for basically using a self-hosted GenAI platform to call GenAI large language models, that price is going to go down over time. Whereas the easy button ChatGPT Enterprise-like solutions, the price is going to go up. And then the last thing to think about is company-specific GenAI. One of the biggest reasons why you would implement GenAI in your company is so that you can ask questions against your company data and you can do things with your company data. Well, with OpenAI ChatGPT Enterprise, your prompts and all attached files go into OpenAI's computing environment. We talked about that. And the only way to add your full company data is that you can't add your full company data. Right now, these solutions, all you can do is attach files, and there's a limit to how many files you can attach, right? They don't give you an option to say connect to a database. Now, later on, I believe that they will have to give you an option to connect to a database or to your data lake and whatnot, but it will be, first of all, it'll probably be more expensive. And second of all, it's going to be very vendor specific. You're going to be tied into the only connections that they offer. So they might say, we only offer connections to, I don't know, Oracle or Salesforce or whatever it may be. And then you're stuck with, okay, if I'm not using that, then I can't really connect to my company data. So this is a big problem with regards to GenAI, easy button, services. Whereas self-hosted, okay, your prompts and all your attached files go into Azure, AWS, GCP on-prem. But you can configure your platform to connect directly to your company databases and data lakes now, right? So if you've got a Databricks installation or you've got Snowflake or you've got, Salesforce or whatever, you can start connecting these GenAI platforms right now to those databases so that you don't have to keep attaching files to each prompt session. Now, again, this is all something that you've got to do through custom connecting and custom building, but the availability is there. You have options, you have flexibility, whereas with the easy button solutions, you do not have that flexibility. You do not have those options right now. And having your company data connected in a secure and privacy protecting manner, I mean, think about it. That's where you're going to get the skyrocketing of value creation within your company. That kind of concept of, instead of looking at a ton of Excel files and trying to figure it out, you have all that data in a database, and then your CFO could just start asking questions against your financial data because the GenAI platform has a connection into your databases. That's futuristic, and that's possible. There's the option to customize something like that through self-hosting your GenAI platform, whereas right now through the easy button solutions, that's not possible. All right, so I've given these comparisons. You're probably thinking, all right, then why would I choose something like, OpenAI ChatGPT Enterprise or Anthropic Claude Enterprise? And maybe it makes me sound really biased. Well, you would choose those solutions because they're easy. And they're really easy to get started with as long as you can get legal review through them. So I'm not saying it's negative. I'm saying that for some people and some companies, that might be the preferred path because it's fast and you can get to it easily if you can get through the legal review, right? But what I am saying is also long term, you should potentially be considering the self-hosted GenAI platform solution as well. Or for many of you, especially with the privacy and security considerations and the cost, you should immediately be thinking about the self-hosted GenAI platform solution. You should be considering it. All right. So the big idea, figuring out a GenAI solution that secures your data, protects privacy, stays cost effective and lets you get insights from your company's data isn't easy, but it's essential. Again, waiting too long, you got to do something. All right. Whether you go easy button or you go self-hosted build, waiting too long is not the answer because it puts both your organization and employees at risk of falling behind in adopting AI effectively. I promised a funny story. All right, here's my story. I'm 45 years old. I turned 45 this past year. And for some of you young bucks, you don't know that when you turn 45, you have to start getting routine colonoscopy. Yeah, it's disgusting. This is too much information. But I just went through this, and it was brutal, my friends. For those that are 45 or older, you know exactly what I'm talking about. And so I had to go through the traditional process where you drink this colonoscopy prep solution, literally a gallon of it. On the right side, it kind of looks like this is all GenAI generated images. I don't want to break copyright. And it was horrendous. You got to force yourself to drink this 1 gallon solution the day before your colonoscopy. You are just, you know what I'm talking about, Dumb and Dumber. I mean, it's just coming out of you. It's horrible, but it needs to be fully flushed and clean your system before you get the colonoscopy. And then the day of the colonoscopy, it's actually it's not bad. It's almost enjoyable because you just kind of you get put asleep, and then you get a great nap. And then you're over, and then you can start eating again. It's kind of joyous when you start eating again. But that process of the prep, going through that, it's not fun. It stinks. And as I was going through that prep, I found out about these box kits where you could get these box kits mailed to you, and then you don't have to do this prep. You just send. It's kind of nasty. You send your stool, and then they analyze it. And I'm like, why would not everybody do this? That's the easy button solution. This sounds amazing. But what I found out is that only a certain subset of people can do this because it's not really great at detecting things. It's made for the ease, but at the end of the day, it's not going to fully protect you. It's not going to fully check for things that might lead to colon cancer. Additionally, if they find anything through this test, then you got to go through the normal procedure. Anything bad through the test, you got to go through the normal procedure anyways. Okay, so you might start with the box, and then they say, okay, we saw some stuff that it's iffy, so now you got to go to the jug, right? And again, I know this is disgusting, and I promise you, I don't really want to talk about this, but I thought that this was like the perfect illustration. The box sounds awesome, all right? And buying these easy button software as a service solutions, ChatGPT Enterprise, sounds awesome. But it's not going to get you fully there. In fact, you may have to use that as a step before you have to get to the real solution, which right now is the jug. Now, just taking a step back, I don't know why there isn't some kind of pill that you can take that'll help you go through this. Why do you have to drink a jug? It's like that milk challenge that we would do in college or something like that. It's just terrible. But anyways, most of us, if not all of us, it's safer to do the jug, and it's better. It's going to protect you better from a health standpoint to do the jug. And I'm just going to throw it out there that for most businesses, it's going to make a lot of sense to consider the open source, or I'm sorry, the GenAI platform build consideration, right? It might be a little bit more complicated than the easy button, but it's probably going to serve you better over the long term, and at least consider it. Now, of course, I just want to throw this out there that we at Blue Fox Labs can help you with the GenAI platform build. We've been doing this. We've been helping companies be extremely successful. We actually make this pretty easy so that maybe this could become the easy button solution for you, but it's not as simple as just signing up, paying a monthly fee or something like that, and it just works like these easy button solutions. These are builds, but we make it pretty easy, and we can explain everything to you and do it custom according to your environment. So contact us if you're interested at hello@bluefoxlabs.ai. All right? We'll make it easier than going through colonoscopy prep. Well, in any case, that's the December update 2024. Hey, have a happy holidays. And wherever you are in the world, have a wonderful end to your year and have a wonderful new year. I wish all the blessings and all the luck and all the joy for everybody into the new year. And I'll see you again in my January Dr. Joe monthly update. Have a great one. Thank you so much. Bye.